the webinar here, getting the recording going. All right. Cool. Seeing some folks starting to stream in here. While you join, let us know where you're joining us from. I think we've got I'm in Boise, Idaho myself. Charles, you're representing the East Coast, is that right?
I'm in New Jersey, yes.
There we
Sunny New
go.
Jersey.
Jersey. Charles and Springsteen, the pillars of New
There
Jersey.
you go. I'm just glad you didn't say Jersey Shore, the show.
No, no, absolutely not. No, I try to keep it classy here. All right, Dallas from Tim, right? Texas is represented. That's great. We'll keep hang out here for another minute or two. Usually people, run on I don't know, what is it? SEO standard time. You're gonna show up about 2 to 5 minutes late. So we'll give everybody a chance to show up here. Hey, 2 from Dallas. All right. Maybe that's a pipeline I didn't know about. Well, thanks so much, everybody. We're super excited to have you all with us today. I invite Charles back pretty regularly onto this. I think, Charles, you are now a 3-time office hours guest, which
I know. I get my punch card. I got to get my punch card punched.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to send you a jacket or something like
There
on
you go.
Saturday Night Live when they get like 5 like we have to hook you up with something. So no, Charles is is basically a regular at this point, and there's a reason why I keep having him back. Charles, me and you talk like maybe every couple months. We just sit down and chat SEO, and
Yeah.
basically when that happens, I just have a notebook out and I'm just like taking notes. So anytime I can give Charles a chance to chat with the audience here, I always got to take him up on it. So
But I
definitely.
always get good things too, because it's interesting when you give me feedback of folks you've spoken to at conferences or whatnot. Sometimes like, oh wow, people want to know that. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay, yeah, we should talk about that. And that's how I end up coming back 3 times. Like we should talk about that sometimes.
Yeah. I will say it's usually on like there's one that we did last time that was like I said something on LinkedIn and you were like, yes, let's do a webinar about it. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that is true. I guess me being on the front lines, chatting with folks all day, every day, you pick up some good wisdom there.
That's the thing with SEO in general, depending on what exactly you do, because lots of folks will sometimes focus on different things in SEO, and you get a very different perspective. And it's good and bad. The bad part is sometimes we get ourselves in bubbles and we only see what's in our little bubble. But
Yeah.
then if we can pop our bubble and talk to other people, then we can, get a more holistic view of what it takes to succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will say my world is mostly, content strategy, link building, and I do a little bit of SEO and technical SEO. And then I know on your end, you are like tech SEO, on-page SEO to the max. So it's good. Yeah, like I said, it's good to kind of find those people with the other focuses. All right, well, let's go ahead here. We'll get the slide deck fired up, get the show on the road. So thanks so much for joining Resolve Office Hours. Again, this is a monthly, I try to do it monthly, webinar where we jump on, we bring an expert from outside of Resolve or sometimes inside of Resolve to share with us stuff that they're working on, knowledge that they've picked up, and to teach our audience something new. We try to really have this be a practical, but also casual and fun environment here where we can ask questions and get answers. So today, Charles is answering probably the #1 question in SEO. It's a really easy one. Just kidding. It is, why don't I rank? So why don't I rank better, and why don't I expletive rank? So we're really excited to hear this from Charles. In terms of Resolve, though, in case you're wondering who we are, what we do, Resolve, we're an SEO content and link building agency. So we've got a team of experts that help you with every stage of your SEO content strategy, keyword research, content creation, and then as well on the link building side, we help craft custom link acquisition strategies ranging from typical guest posting to resource link building to digital PR, all of the above, to help you get what you need to rank successfully in Google. So again, thank you all so much. Charles is going to present a little bit on his process for how he analyzes pages. I'll kind of let him jump into that here in a second. Once that's done, though, we are going to do a workshop and Q&A where you can throw us your questions, throw us your websites, and we will spend time with you, giving you that actionable feedback and advice. today. So Charles, I'll go ahead and relinquish the screen share over to you, and go ahead and take it away.
Great, thank you very much. Give me 2 seconds here. All right, I'm assuming everybody can see my screen now. So yeah, I was originally going to name this slide deck, Why Don't I Rank? But then often I hear the question, why don't I rank better? Or why don't I rank better than that person? And then usually it crescendos down to, why don't I just leap and rank? And so I decided, let's just leave them all there, because that's kind of the way we go through the process. Like, hey, why don't I rank? Why don't I rank better? Why the heck don't I rank? So who am I? Just a real quick, boring part. My name is Charles Taylor, Senior Director SEO at Fox. I've been an SEO nerd since 2003. I've been in lots of different verticals, affiliate. I've done my own affiliate sites for years. I still have lots of my own sites, legal, e-commerce, local SEO. Really the last decade, not quite decade, I've really specialized on enterprise SEO. And Michael and I were just talking a little bit before the presentation started, but the different types of SEO you get into, the different type of niches, the different types of different ways people look at SEO. It's kind of cool because you can learn a lot of different things. The only problem is sometimes you can get caught in a bubble, and you don't ever want to get caught in that SEO bubble. So what are we going to talk about today? First, I want to talk about the 4 pillars of SEO. I think that's important to understand whenever you're approaching a site and you're asking questions, how do I rank? How can I rank? Why aren't I ranking? Things like that. Then I want to talk about the many paths of ranking, because often a lot of us think that ranking, like you do A, B, and C, and then you rank. And it's actually not true. There are actually lots of different paths to ranking. Then we'll talk a little about the cycle of SEO insanity, math versus magic, and then we'll get right into analysis and action. Hopefully, we'll spend most of the time analyzing sites. I like to share some of the processes I do to analyze sites. So first of all, SEO strategy. So this is the process you should always follow when you want to rank a site, when you're trying to figure out why a page or a site isn't ranking better, and you have to follow it in this process. So first is the technical issues, accessibility, or really I should call it crawlability. Can the search engine access your site, access your page, and read the content on the page? If it can't do that, everything afterwards is worthless. Relevance and the page content. Does Google consider your page relevant? We're going to spend most of our time today talking about how do you determine this relevance, because it's gotten very complicated over the years. In the quote unquote good old days, 15 years ago or so, you just put the keyword on the page a bunch of times and you'll rank. Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but that still is part of the DNA. Then obviously, once you've done that, we have to worry about link building. And then if you've done all those things, and then we've already learned now, we've confirmed from Google when they were before Congress a little while ago that, yeah, they're looking at user signals. They are watching how we're clicking. And if you read some of the Google documentation, they straight up say, we're watching what you're looking at and trying to give you more of that. So let's talk about the many paths to ranking. You'll hear lots of different SEO gurus, myself or others, say, oh, you need to do A, B, and C, and then you'll rank. And then you listen to another guru and say, no, no, you need to do 1, 2, and 3 and rank. And then you hear someone else say, well, here's how I ranked. I did X, Y, Z. And the question for us as website owners and SEO managers and directors is like, all right, well, who should we be listening to? And here's what ends up happening. A Google update will occur. Guru 2 will move up in the rankings. The other 2 will either drop or stand still. And then Guru number 2 will declare, see, it's all about 1, 2, 3. And that could be content, links, CTR. Insert your SEO tactic du jour here. Until another Google update drops. And then Guru number 2 drops in the rankings or maybe holds still. Guru number 3 suddenly jumps in the rankings and declares, see, it's always been about X, Y, Z. Focus on the user, quality content, CRO, insert talking point here. And they'll say, you just got to keep holding with it and it will work. Until, and again, the endless cycle continues over and over again, where it just kind of shifts, and we're in that. We sometimes feel like Google's out to get us, because you think you've got it figured out. An update comes around and then hits you, and then you make a change, and then you do better than an update, and it just keeps going around and around and around. And I say it's time to stop the SEO insanity. We really need to take a step back and get a better understanding of how is Google working, and really what's the problem Google's trying to solve. And we have to think about SEO from Google's perspective. Google is seeking out someone that goes to Google and types in a search query, whatever query that might be. Google has to seek the most relevant page for that query out of trillions of potential pages. Now think about that. Like, that's a scale problem. And so how does Google figure this out? Well, Google has to look at hundreds of different zones on a page or a website to calculate thousands of different factors. Why do they do this? Why do they have so many different zones? And why do they have so many different factors? Well, first of all, that explains why Guru 1, 2, and 3 can all rank, but then things will change. And because Google's messing around with the zones that it's weighting and the factors that's weighting. Now, why is it doing that? Well, the dirty little secret is most of the web is actually pretty poorly optimized. Now, the folks on this webinar right now, you're thinking, well, I've got a website, I'm optimizing it, working on it regularly. You know, the people above me, they're well optimized. Yes, there is a small segment of the web population that is well optimized. Most are not. So how is Google, how is the search engine supposed to figure out what to rank when pages aren't optimized well? So it has to have all these different kinds of factors it looks at. And it really boils down to math versus magic. Unfortunately, too many folks in the SEO industry kind of have this wizard kind of mentality, like, oh, we've got all this, you can't look behind the curtain and, no one can look upon the great wizard. Really, it's math. Now, the problem with the math is we don't know Google's actual algorithm, although there was a leak a few months ago. So we've gotten some clues and we've had some confirmations of some things, but it is still just math. And so when you start looking at your site from a mathematical standpoint of view, it starts becoming a little more obvious why one site will rank versus another site. So, SEO analysis in action. In a few minutes, I want to start jumping into some sites. But before, I just want you to first understand the premise, how I approach it. So, number one, Google wants to serve serve content that's primarily created for people, not search engines. Google says that over and over again. But the search engine must analyze it. Like there are no people analyzing our websites. Therefore, if a search engine, if an algorithm is analyzing our website, it must be based on mathematical factors. Probably very complicated factors, but it has to be based on specific factors. You need to analyze the SERP, the search engine result page, for each page and target keyword. So sometimes it's basically an SEO SWOT analysis where you're saying, okay, this page, I want to rank for this keyword. Let's take a look. Let's see, how am I ranking? How am I optimized? How are my competitors optimized versus how they're ranking? By doing that, then we can start understanding what factors we're missing versus what factors our competitors are missing or may not be missing. And here's one of the little secrets. And this kind of, I alluded to this a little bit earlier when we had the three different gurus, ABC, 1, 2, 3, XYZ. Maybe they're all ranking well. And that's another thing that can be confusing. They're all ranking well. And through multiple algorithms, they all have good rankings. And you're like, how is this possible? And that goes back to my statement that there's many paths to ranking. And the reason why there's many paths to ranking is that Google has to look at so many different factors and so many different zones on a page. And so diversity of factors is actually the highest correlation of making you resilient to Google algorithm changes. So, and that's what this analysis is really all about. It's not just where are you weak, where you're strong, but we want to make sure that we have a diversity of factors so that we can ride through all the different algorithm changes, hopefully unscathed. All right, so we've looked at enough slides. I think it's time to dive into some data. So the first site I'm going to look at here is, I think, so I had a couple prepped up here. This one is Tutor Doctor, and we'll take a quick look at their website. So I looked at the term test prep tutoring for their test prep tutoring services page. So they have a page, test prep services, and it's optimized. Looks like they have page one here for test prep tutoring. So let's see how they do for this. So the first thing I can tell you, and we'll first thing we can look at and say, well, where do they rank? Well, they rank around, now it's 38.8. Obviously, nobody ranks 38.8. This is a program. I have lots of different tools that do analysis. This is a great program that does checks, but this site's currently ranking, what is that, page 4 for test prep services. So we need to look through and figure out what's going on. So what I do is, this is a lot of data. I have a tool that it pulls in really the top 100 results, and it pulls in literally hundreds of factors and then does analysis on all these different factors. So we can see here, Tutor Doctor, the first factor is we're looking at word count. Has a similar word count to everybody in the top, actually has higher than some folks in the top. So it probably doesn't have a problem there. Now you can see we look at word count, word count. I'm not gonna get too deep into every little thing here because I don't want to drag down and get too dirty in the details, but we're just doing a quick top of the kind of back of the envelope, quick look and see what's going on here. One of the other things I looked at is relevant density. You'll find the old idea of keyword density, folks like, oh, that's dead, that's been gone. Well, actually, we've found that density is actually still a factor. It still correlates greatly to high rankings. We can start looking at a few things, and what I like looking at is term frequency, variations, and entities in text. And we can start seeing there's places where they're a little bit low, maybe a little bit high. I wouldn't worry about any place where they're high. And we can start getting a sense for what's going on here. So already I'm looking at this saying they've got a page that's probably it's got a meaty page that's well optimized. So let's start looking at the structure of the page. So the very first thing I noticed is that this line exact matches in title tag. They don't have an exact match in the title tag. Now, the funny thing is a lot of the top rankers do not have an exact match in the title tag. Now, when I see something like this, my first thought is actually a 0. Maybe the tool isn't able to read the page. And that immediately takes me back to that first pillar. Maybe this is a technical issue. So if I jump back to the page real quick, I can see, well, what do you know? Technically, they don't have the keyword in the page. They have test, prep, hype, tutoring. So if they're trying to rank for test prep tutoring, they don't have that exact keyword in their page. And so that's an interesting way of looking at it. You have to look at the page from a computer standpoint of view. Yes, it's a maybe good content. Yes, maybe it's well optimized, but for a computer, is it well optimized? So the first thing I would do on a page like this, drop that pipe or just get the word tutoring in the beginning of the first pipe. There's a few other things we can look at, variations in the title tag, entities, and LSI keywords. We'll talk about what those mean in a few seconds. Exact matches and meta description. So this was an interesting one as well, a 0. There's no exact matches in the meta description. I believe this was the one. I'm not going to dig into all their code because I don't want to get too in the weeds here. I believe this page didn't have a meta description. Now, folks can say, oh, Charles, meta descriptions aren't part of Google's rankings. Well, I would argue with that slightly. So I do a lot of testing. Because you can't really know anything unless you're actually doing testing. And one of the things I've noticed is that there are index factors. There are indexable zones. There are places you can put keywords. Google will see it and consider you relevant. But then there's also zones that are boost zones. Now it's a little harder to figure out what's a boost zone and wasn't a boost zone. So I've come to the decision that pretty much if it's on the page, I should be optimizing it. Another way I look at meta descriptions is if someone's typing in the exact match keyword, that's a better if you have that exact match in your meta description, Google will be more likely to show the meta description and not grab content from the page. All right, so I'm going to keep going through here. Going to speed up a little bit more. So all H tags. So look at H tags. I've done lots of testing, and the folks that did this tool have done even more testing than I have. They've decided down to H6s Google does look at. So we take them and look at analysis. So the number of H tags, as you can see, has fewer H tags than some of the other sites. Has fewer LSI words in the H tags. Probably maybe it's more because they have fewer tags. We can see they have one H1, which they definitely should. H2s, they're pretty in line, maybe a little lower than some of their competitors. H3s, they don't have any H3s. And you'll notice some of these sites actually have a lot of H3 tags. Then you start going down to H4. You can see a lot of the competitors are using H4s. Some of the competitors are using H5 tags. So they're not. So there are factors going all the way down to H6. So there are competitors that are optimizing zones that Tutor Doctor is not optimizing for. And so we know there's a gap. If they want to rank, they should probably be optimizing these zones. Now, does that mean, hey, Charles, I need to have, 20 H4s in my page? No, not at all. I would shoot closer to the page one average. I'd start looking at these page one average and I'd make that my first level. If I'm sitting at 0, I'd like to at least see 2 or 3 on the page. Let's get something. And here's the next thing you'll always remember with SEO, something is always better than nothing. Don't rack your brain trying to come up with, 20 or 10 or even 5. Can you get 2? Yeah, then do 2. What about H6? Oh no, most people have 2 or 3. Can you get 1? Yes, then get 1. Don't draw. Something is always better than nothing in the world of SEO. All right, now here's the top factors. So what I've done, and I've also gone through all this data and sorted it properly so that we can look at it better. This is looking at all the different factors that are out there in this that all of our competitors have that we do not have. Now, some of these factors, again, you got to use your brain. This is just a computer doing an analysis of another computer. So we have to inject our brain. So for example, exact matches in H2 tags, there's none. Variations in H3, well, I think they didn't have any H3s, only had 1 or 2. Variations in title attributes, not the title tag, that would be the title attribute in like a link or an image. And you can notice They don't have any. And interestingly enough, result number 9 has 86. And this is always a fun one because I'll have people, when I see things like this, I'll have people come to me and say, yeah, but isn't putting keywords in your title attributes, isn't that spammy? Won't you be penalized? Well, this company was penalized all the way up to result number 9. So just doing it in and of itself is not necessarily a signal. Would I do 86? Probably not. Again, I like to shoot for the page one average, or at least 50% of the page one average. My goal here is get rid of the zeros. Get rid of the zeros and then work through getting rid of everything below 50%. Again, we don't want to be missing factors. We jump into usage. This is another different group of zones and factors where we're looking for factors that we don't want to be missing. Sometimes there's some of these, again, it's a computer analyzing another computer, has meta char set or has doc type tag. Is that what's making or breaking your SEO? Definitely not. Is it worth throwing in there? Yeah, you know what? If I had the free time, I'd throw it in there. But this actually kind of confirms a few other things. We're just talking about variations, talking about H3 tags. So it's reconfirming that there's an issue with the structure of the page compared to the competitors. Now, when we're talking here, we've talked a lot about exact match, variations, entities, keywords. What does all that stuff mean? Well, exact match is just that, exact match. So this would be test, prep, tutoring. That's the exact match. Variations, well, variations are other words that Google considers relevant. How do we know what Google considers relevant? Well, if you go to a search engine and you type in test prep tutoring, and you know what? I will do that right this second. I'm going to type in test prep, and you can see I've already done it. Tutoring, not near me though, just tutoring. Sorry, I have a bar here in my way, so I can't see. You'll notice that Google actually highlights all of these bolds, I should say, all these other words. Those are the variations. If Google finds it important enough to bold that word, I think it's probably worth paying attention to. And that's what this tool does. So it gets all the data that Google bolds, and then it compares you to them. So for example, the word exam. We don't have the word exam. We do have the word exam on 4 times. Exam prep. Interesting. That's not on there. The average is only twice. Maybe it's worth looking at. What I try to do is I look for the big deltas. Where is the average really high and I'm really low? So for example, we see 92. The average for test is 92. We have 135. You know what? I could probably swap out a few of those test words for the word exam. And there you go. You've just lowered one a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of lowering stuff, but you could give up a little bit there to put it someplace else. And so I'll scroll through all of these and look for where am I weak versus where am I strong compared to my competitors and compared to my #1 average. And again, I like pointing out some of these. We can see someone use the word tutor 47 times on this page. It's again, a lot of folks will ask me, hey, if you put a word on the page, won't Google penalize you? Well, again, this person was penalized. We're up to number 9. It's not going to, it's not Google's not this penalizing machine that a lot of us like to think of it as. Okay, entities. So entities and LSI keywords, probably something. Google says they don't use LSI. That's right. Google doesn't use LSI. I don't believe Google uses LSI. What we have found is if you use LSI, TF-IDF, some of the other keyword tools that are out there, Cake, I think is one of them that a lot of folks like to use, or Sake, actually, I think is the term. Simple analysis keyword or something like that. I forget what it stands for. But anyways, essentially kind of pull up this. It's just what words come up in an article or should come up in an article. That's one of the new things Google's doing. If you're going to write about test prep tutoring, they expect you to see the word tutor, exam, practice exams. These are ways that Google knows that your content is relevant. So see, there's some of the entities. So one of the things I did is I just did a quick analysis. Where are places where tutor doctor is 0, but the max is really high? Some of these things make a lot of sense. Mathematics, reading, okay. MD, not sure where MD would fit in. Hour, okay, maybe hour would make sense. Essay would make sense. College admissions make sense. But again, you have to use your brain. Don't just go there and say, the computer's telling me to do this, I will do this. Do not do that. Some of these things will make a lot of sense. Some of these won't make any sense at all, and you have to really think about it. Private tutoring, there's a great example. Like, okay, test prep. Is tutor doctor doing private tutoring? If they're not, you could still put that word on the page. No, we don't do private tutoring, but we are even better because we have all these great tools online. LSI keywords, very, very similar. You just look at where are we lacking versus what's strong, where is everybody else. We can see the word tutors. Again, some people have used the word tutors 200 times on the page. I don't think we need to do it 200 times on the page. Again, I like to look at the average and just kind of shoot for the average. So maybe we could bring that up a little bit. I also like to look at for ones and zeros. Where do we have big deficits? And then last but not least, and I'm thinking of you here, Michael, even though we're going to focus on page optimization, let's look at the basic off page. We can see, what does it look like? What does the SERP look like? So this tool is pulling from an API from another tool to figure out. We're seeing that this page has 6 different referring domains, 11 backlinks, 5 are do follow. But look at what some of the competitors have. Now, do we need 3,000 domains to rank number 1, 3,000 backlinks? Probably not. We've got people in number 2 and what is this, number 7, that are definitely within under 20. But I would say we could probably have a dozen. Getting a dozen backlinks to this page would not hurt us. And again, this gives us that feeling of having the data. We feel totally comfortable when someone like Michael comes and says, "Hey, I'm going to see if I can get you about 10 or 12 backlinks." So many folks are running around out there saying, "Don't do it, don't do it. You're going to penalize yourself." Well, let's see what the SERP looks like. Let's do a SWOT analysis, and we can see that we definitely are lacking in some areas.
Yeah, Charles, to that point, one of the things to look at as well is like, what is the type of page that is getting ranked here, right? You freak out because you see 3,200 linking root domains, 2,105. Those are all home pages for these sites. When you look at the actual tutoring pages, it's 3, it's 14, it's 8, it's 17, it's 11. It's a much easier pill to swallow when you understand like page to page, because Google's going to return different kinds of pages with different, different types of intent, within a search result. And so like if I were like trying to analyze these and figure out how many links do we need, yeah, like you're not going to build 2,000 links, but can you build 5 to 10 links? Maybe. Let's look at it. Let's look at your page. Let's look at the audiences that are out there that might benefit from it. Let's see if there's assets that we can create to internally link to this page. All these are different options that they can look into and explore. So yeah, this is a really cool page. But like you said, anytime you get like a data just spat at you like this, it's good to, use your human brain to analyze and really understand what you're seeing.
Exactly. It's all about the brain. That's our number one tool. I mean, this is a great tool I use, and I do a lot of analysis with Excel, but you got to use your brain. Like looking at this, I can see Princeton Review has a lot. This has got a lot of domain links, but that's the homepage. Whereas CollegeWise does not have as many. That's not the homepage. They have probably a lot of really good site authority, and then they're passing it internally to their individual pages. So you can start to get a better understanding of how different sites are attacking this. But yeah, if you look at the individual pages, that would be an interesting way to sort this. If we got rid of the home page and looked at the individual pages, you can see most of them are at about the dozen range. So we are lacking a little bit, but it's not that bad. So let's go in a different direction. This was for kitchen lights for the website Hunter Fans. So we'll take a quick look at their website. So this is an e-commerce site, totally different kind of site. So I went to one of their pages, kitchen lights. I'm going out on a limb and saying, yep, they want to rank for kitchen lights because that's their H1 on the page. And that's how I'm basing it. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going to out on a limb and say I think they are, looking at also their other words. So looking at their page, we can see, all right, they've got a lot of content on this page. Now, here's another thing. People are like, oh, you can't have more than X number of words on the page. Well, I don't know. These folks have, they're ranking 14. They have over almost 3,500 words on the page. Here's somebody at position 5 with almost 8,000 words on the page. That's Wayfair. And here's number 8, has 9,000 words on the page. So the first question is like, how do you do that? How do you get 9,000 words on the page? Look at the page. This is a search result page. All of this data is showing up as words. So all these characters, all of the different items, the items on the page, they're all counting as words on the page. So that's part of what's happening. We can look at then again term frequency, distinct entities. I can see, okay, this actually looks pretty good. So the first, the quick analysis doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look like we're missing any place. Our relevant density is 91. Okay, that's not horrible, but we can see the top ones are all beating us out. Again, density, it seems to still be part of the factors. So let's look at the structure of the site. Again, you go back to exact match. So we don't have an exact match in our title tag. Now, none of our competitors do either. So that's telling me right off the bat that Google considers kitchen lights as probably a synonym to something else. With that said, what would I do? Looking at this title tag, I would see, is there any way we can get the word kitchen lights in there? I would stick it in there somehow. So that's the first thing I would do. The title tag, I've seen test after test after test have shown that it's super powerful. Use the title tag to your advantage. Same with meta description. Meta description, again, I love optimizing the meta description for one simple purpose. Even if you don't think it has anything to do with SEO, everyone gets mad when Google rewrites their meta descriptions. I get mad when Google rewrites their meta description. Why are they doing that? I've run tests and I've been able to analyze and see most of the time, if the search query is not contained in the meta description, Google will not show the meta description. If the search query exists in the meta description, Google will then show the meta description. So do your good CRO and CTR work with the meta description, but make sure you're optimizing it. Make sure those important keywords are in there. We can see here that when you're looking at the H tags, okay, they might be a little light on entities and LSI keywords. That could be one of the things that they could work on a little bit more. H1 tag, number of H1 tags. Looks like they have 2 H1 tags. So we're going to want to dig into that and fix that because Google, definitely Bing does not like 2 H1 tags. Google, they claim they don't care. I'm not so sure that they don't care. Going down to H2 tags, we can see, all right, well, they've got 12 compared to the average is 24. We can see some people have 57, 55, 78. That's Amazon. Thank you very much, Amazon. And you can see the different keywords that they're using. A lot of times, what this does with e-commerce is it tells me the structure of the site. When I started looking at this, first thing I realized is, oh, 48 H3s, their links to their products, they must use H3 tags for their product links. That's got to be what's going on. And my guess is Amazon, Wayfair, and what is this? Southern Living must use H2 tags to link to individual products. So you can actually kind of, it's kind of like the Matrix. You look at the numbers, you can start seeing what the websites probably look like. And then we get down a little bit further, we can see H4s. There's no H4s, but we can see some of their competitors are utilizing H4s. So one of the things you can do is you immediately look at the competitors' pages. How can we utilize this? Is there a way we can get an exact match in 1 or 2 H4s? Same thing going down to H5s. We can see here that was this factory direct lighting, I think is, yeah, factory direct hardware. They have H5s. My guess is they use H5s for their product links. No one else seems to. Would I still do it? Yeah, you could have. And then we go all the way down to H6. Someone can say, hey, Charles, no one uses H6. Why do I bother? You can have a factor now that nobody else has. And that's the other way I look at it. We want to try to have factors that everybody else has. But more importantly, we want factors that other people don't have. So we go right into this example here. Here's a simple leading variations in H2s. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it may be telling us that maybe we don't have an exact or a variation at all in our H2 worth looking at. Number of Twitter accounts. Is this is this super high? Probably not, but maybe we should let, is there a link to all of our different social media accounts in the footer of all of our pages? I would recommend if you're a website, you have those kinds of things. Number one, pretty sure Google's looking at these things. And number two, we could have a factor that nobody else has. And this kind of confirms some of the other things, exact entities in H4s. I know we didn't have a lot of H4s. So we're going to see a lot of these things replicated. So they have a lot of their factors covered, which explains why they're at 14. But we can see they do have some gaps. And I'd say let's fill the gaps. We don't want any zeros. Usage, same thing here. Let's look for places where we are way behind our competitors. We can see here already, I can see, number of backlinks. That kind of just jumped out at me. A lot of our competitors have lots of backlinks and this one does not. So that might be something worth looking at. We'll look at that in a few minutes. Let's look at variations. So what are the keywords we should be using? So so again, zeros jump out at me. The word kitchens, plural, hadn't thought of that, but the page one average is 22. We have 0. Lamp and lamps. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that either, but that's an interesting way of approaching it. Light kitchen. I'm not sure I would worry about that because I'm not going to put bad grammar on my page. If there's a way you can think of making a sentence where the word light is before kitchen, probably wouldn't be the end of the world, but I wouldn't also fret about it. Actually, here's a great example. We have lamps 0 times. We have the word lights. 366 times, the average is only 89. So we could drop 5. Like we don't have to drop a lot. If we could remove 5, turn those from lights to lamps or lamp and lamps, there you go. You've got it fixed. And we can see kitchen lights actually were doing very well. Kitchen lighting. So here was my suspicion. Google sees kitchen lights and kitchen lighting as synonyms. So what's the page one average? Page one average is 31. The person that's used the most is Pinterest. Well, that's no surprising. 138 times. We've got it 7. Can we get that up to 15 or 16? If you can do 30, great. But can we get it a little bit higher? And again, even the word kitchen. Use the word kitchen 127 times. The average is 300, so maybe we should be getting that up a little bit higher. The one thing you want to be careful of is don't turn this into a page about kitchen. Don't turn this into a page about lamps. The page is about kitchen lighting and kitchen lights. You have to always stay focused on your optimization. So while I'm talking about entities, I'm going to come up with all these other words that you could probably include on the page. Don't de-optimize your page. Folks will do that. I've done that to myself. I've de-optimized my own page trying to get all these other keywords in. Again, how do we get that relevance? How do we get those other words on the page that Google would probably consider relevant? We can see that we have not used the word LED at all. Well, hey, that's most lighting or it's LED lighting now. So we should probably mention that someplace on the page. Don't need 178 times, but we should probably mention it. Again, lamps, we know about that. Pendant lighting, so there's different kinds of lighting, different descriptions. So, some ways you could handle some of these different entities, and we'll see some similarness to the LSI, is maybe we handle that in our filtering on the left-hand side. Maybe it's not that we're not optimized, it's that we should be giving our users better filtering. So not only is there an SEO thing in there, but maybe users are interested in metal lights versus plastic versus, I don't know anything about lighting, but maybe users are interested in that. So maybe that should be a filter, a facet that we have on our site. And then LSI keywords, again, same concept. Here's where you got to use your brain, The word products, is that important? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We have it 278 times. Should we remove it? No, the max is actually us. The average is 14. Would I remove it? No, I probably wouldn't, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Same with the word item or text. I'm not worried about those. We're zeros. We could stay zeros. I don't care if the computer says I have a deficit. I don't think I have a deficit. Color. Okay, maybe color is something I should consider. The average is 13. We got 12. I'm fine. Let's move on. Again, lamps kind of confirms a lot of things we've already seen. Delivery. Now, this is interesting. So a lot of pages probably talk about free delivery or fast delivery. We don't ever say that on our page. Maybe it's worth having on the page once or twice. Maybe that's worth having in the template of all of our e-commerce pages, free delivery, fast delivery, next day delivery, something like that. And a quick look at off page. Again, Home Depot has 329 links. Well, they're Home Depot. They can get away with this. Lamps Plus has 167. IKEA has 138. Wayfair has 120. We have one. Now maybe this page has a couple more than that. Maybe it's just a tool it's pulling in. But again, when you have someone like Michael say, hey, we could build you like a dozen links, you don't have to panic. There's a lot of competitors with deep pages that have lots of links. Lighting Direct has 142 links pointing to their deep page. I think it's safe to send, a dozen or so links to kitchen lights. I think we'll be okay. I don't think there's any real danger in that. But again, this is how you make decisions with data. It's data-informed decisions, not data-driven, because the computer would tell us, put 329 links on the page. I don't think we should do that. Data-informed, not data-driven.
That's a great caveat there. The thing you mentioned earlier that I loved was this kind of concept of like looking beyond the mark in SEO. Like sometimes something is so simple that they were just, nope, that's not the thing. Like you said, like a title tag. Yeah, update your title tag. Optimize better with that. Another really funny one for me when you talk about like product pages like this, and especially like a bigger brand, like say you're a Hunter fan and you've got some mentions of your brand out on the web. People like stick their nose up at a strategy like unlinked mentions. But recently
love them.
Recently we did a campaign for a client. Can I steal your screen share, Charles? Is that okay?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. So we recently did a campaign for a client where we found that they had like tons of unlinked mentions. It's a software company, and a lot of those mentions were in reference to small business payroll software. So what we did was we just went through and found all these brand mentions and just said, hey, since you're mentioning this in congruence to our small business payroll software, would you mind including a link to our small business payroll software page? We started doing this during the fall of last year. This page has tripled in its traffic just from building. I think we built maybe 5 to 10 of those links, but among those links, they'd been mentioned on cornell.edu. We got them a link from UC Berkeley in California. So some incredible like high power backlinks that, if you wanted to say like, no, I'm not going to do unlinked mentions, I only want, X type of links, they would have missed out on these amazing links and these amazing opportunities to increase, to triple the traffic to one of their core product pages on their site. So that's one of those things when it comes to SEO is, sometimes the simplest answer is the answer, but obviously, of course, there are a billion other factors you can look into, but don't overlook those low-hanging fruit opportunities because they can turn into big wins.
So while I want to talk mostly about on-page today, I do want to say this about links. I've done testing. I have great friends in the industry who've done lots of testing. Google follows links. Google follows all links. Now I'm going to drop a nugget here, so hopefully everybody pays attention. Google follows unlinked URL links.
Yeah.
I know this for a fact. If I take a URL and put it on a page, don't link it, just put a URL on the page, Google will follow it. I have seen Google follow relative, go look at the code. So in the code of a page, it finds a relative link, it still tries to follow that link. So that link was not an A tag or anything like that. So Google follows all links. You want all mentions, all links. Any link's a good link in my mind in terms of like whether it's do follow, no follow, linked, not linked. I want it all. The three most important things Google needs to know about your business. So we're looking at a lot of the technical stuff, but it's also good to take a step back and understand how do you rank well? How does a Hunter fan, for example, rank well? How does a test tutor doctor? I'm sorry, I'm butchering your website.
Yeah.
I forget the domain name already. How does Resolve rank well? Google needs to know three things about your company: who you are, meaning your name, where you're located, and what you do. If you can tell it if you can give that information to Google in as many places as possible, it will consider you more relevant. How else is an algorithm supposed to know that Resolve is a really good, really important marketing company? Because it's mentioned all over the web. And so the computer will be like, okay, I guess it's just as important as all these other companies. Let me put it at the top of my results.
Yeah.
So that's just another conceptual way. I've seen a few things. Michael, while you're talking, I was just scanning the
Yeah.
chats real quick.
Real
Some
quick,
folks are talking
I
about
do have
LSI versus.
some breaking news though, Charles. So
Yes.
even though we've talked about all of this, unfortunately, I just heard the SEO is dead. So
Yes.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if all this matters. No, I'm joking. One of the things I love talking about is just like you do all this work, right? You're optimizing your pages. You are, when it comes to creating all this content, when you're doing link building, you're finding hundreds of sites, you're outreaching to hundreds of sites, you're doing all this work. Is it actually work that does get results? The answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
SEO is not dead. If so, someone needs to tell these clients of mine that these thousands of visitors that they're getting are fake and don't exist. So, keep in mind all this work that we're doing, all this stuff that we're sharing. These are all really good, insightful, actionable things that you can do, and it's worthwhile. Like it drives results. If anybody is interested, though, I do have to drop our little offer here. What we're doing with Resolve is, number one, I do a free consult with anybody who wants to chat with me. I'll put together a free ranking roadmap report. I'll show you where your best ranking opportunities are, how you can drive traffic for your website, even give you some link generating guide opportunities. You can scan the QR code that's on your screen to book that. But if you do end up working with Resolve, you sign up for a content, link building, or digital PR campaign, we're going to partner with Charles and we'll cover the cost of a free audit from Charles. So Charles sounds incredibly smart, and I can attest to that he just doesn't sound it. He is that, and I know he can provide a lot of value for you and your website. So if you do want to partner with Resolve on your content or link building strategies, we're going to bring Charles in to help out with the same auditing process that he shared on this call. We're going to do some of that type of stuff for you and bring him in to partner with us on your campaign. So I'll leave this up for another second or two. Charles, if you want to kind of, I know you had something you wanted to say, I'll take a step back and I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, no, I'm just going through the chat here, and there's some great feedback, and keep it coming. So one thing I just want to say, someone mentioned NAP. That stands for name, address, phone number. That should be all over the place on the web. I don't care if you're an e-commerce site or a physical location. If you're like like you have a store, or you're a plumber, or you run CBD sites out of Guam or something. I don't know. You need to have it. Google wants to know that you're a real business. They want to know where you physically reside. So get that NAP, name, address, phone number. Get that all over the place. Who you are, what you do, where you do it. That's important. One other note I'd make about the analysis is, I use this, so you can use this analysis in three different ways. The easiest and most obvious is, hey, why aren't I ranking a little bit better? You can take the analysis, you can start coming up with some items immediately. And like I say, some SEO is always better than no SEO. Even if you walk away with 3 items that you can do, you'll often see that makes a change. I've also used this analysis for myself before I build a page to get a sense for what should the site look like. Because I want to understand what kind of competition? I've walked away from niches and said, you know what, this is far too competitive. I can make just as much money doing something else in another affiliate site. And then I just say, nope, not going to do this. Want to go someplace else. I've also used this, especially the structure tag, to analyze myself versus all my competitors. And this is good for sites that have have lots like e-commerce sites. Like, is there something structurally that they're doing that I'm not doing? You want to make sure you're at least on par with your competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some fun sites to analyze. I did get one question though from Brandon. He asked, what is digital PR? Real quick, digital PR is basically using your website, using information, content, research, data, anything that you have that you think is of value to journalists, and then pitching that to journalists to get them to write about it and hopefully get some backlinks out of it. So a fun example I've shared quite a few times with our audience here. We did this fun piece for one of our clients. They're an aquarium. And we thought, what's a funny, quirky thing that's related to animals that people are talking about online? We did the 10 most Googled monsters in the US. So this piece was like, we found the most, kind of each state's creature. So Florida has the skunk ape. New York has Champy, the Jersey Devil from New Jersey, Jackalope from Wyoming. And we found how many times he's got Googled. And it's kind of funny. Like, you wouldn't think that 1.6 million people per year are searching for the Mothman, or 2.9 million per year searching for Chupacabra, but they are, and that's kind of silly. So we pitched this around to journalists, and we got NBC New York to pick it up because we mentioned the Jersey Devils. That's an awesome DA88, DR83 backlink from a really good publication. We got like a local DJ in Wyoming to pick it up because he thought it was cool that we mentioned the jackalope. Florida DJ at a radio station picked it up because we mentioned the swamp monster guy, the skunk ape. So really cool strategy to get backlinks. It does take a lot of work. It takes a little bit of research and data, but definitely one that we've been able to get some fun links for our clients with over the past year. So that was a good question there. The next one that we had, Charles, was about Supreme Garage Door, Texas.
Okay.
This is one that I'm actually a little like head scratching over because overall I feel like they've done a pretty good job. I mean, we have garage door repair and installation in Dallas. I don't know if you'd want to see, like, based on search volume, if we'd want to get garage door repair Texas or garage door repair Dallas all in one, phrase together. That might be something we might want to do.
So this is a local site. So local site, and it's competitive. I know enough about the local business that garage door somewhere, that's competitive. So what I would do is, my guess is, and I could be wrong, do me a favor, just scroll down just a little bit. I saw a bunch of, all right, so there's a bunch of different services they offer. So we want to make sure there's a service page. There should be a service page for it, and it looks like there is. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My guess is also that they want to rank for specific towns or cities within Texas. I know Texas is big, so maybe they do go all over Texas.
Right.
So yeah, they have locations. They have location pages set up, and that's great. Here is the danger that sometimes folks will do, because now I've seen like 9 different services and 7 different pages. Folks start going into this crazy idea of we have to have garage door openers Dallas, garage door opener Austin, garage door. No, you don't have to do that. You need a service page for each area of your service. Hopefully you have the physical location in all those towns. You need to then,
It looks like
those location pages, excellent. They need to be the basis for all of your GBPs for each of those towns. So in your Garland, Texas, on your Garland, Texas GBP, you should be pointing to your Garland, Texas page. Think how would McDonald's do it? Do they have Hamburgers, New Jersey, Hamburgers, Idaho, Hamburgers? No, they have all their locations, and they have all their, in this case, products or services, and then they link to each other. And that's how I would do it with a small site as well. It makes it a little bit easier. Now, there are some things you definitely want to do. You still want to have location sites. You still want to have services. You want to link to each other. There are lots of other things you want to do when you think about, depending on what, are you trying to rank your site, or are you trying to rank your GBP? If you're trying to rank your GBP, that's a whole presentation in and of itself. User interaction becomes very, very important with things like that. People interacting with your GBP is a strong factor. So you have to come up with ways to get people to interact with your GBP. I just had an exterminator come to my house just a week ago, and they gave me a little flyer with a QR code. I didn't follow it. because I kept it. I wanted to use it as an example. I didn't have it at my desk. I wish I did. I was Viking though. Shout out to Viking. But what could you do with that QR code? Someone scans the QR code, you can take them through your GBP now.
Yeah. That's one of those things I've been
This is an
always
open
telling
webinar, so
my,
I'm not going to say some of the other clever things you can do here, but there are lots of fun things you can do.
that's something I was telling my, I just gave a presentation at a local business conference in Boise recently, and I kind of chatted with everyone about that and just said, like, you know, making sure that people leave you reviews on your GBP, doing this, like, it is so critical to your Google Business Profile rankings. Like, you know, I always view reviews almost as the backlinks of your GBP.
Yeah.
And like, so I was like, anytime you send an invoice, have a QR code that makes it real easy for them to go and leave you a review. Anytime you communicate or send an email, have your link that goes to your GBP so they can go there. Like, make it easy for people to do the thing that you want them to do. It's kind of like an old CRO, you know, conversion rate optimization trick, but it's like, make it easy for them to do the thing you want them to do.
Yeah, there's a good comment in the chat. Someone's asking how's their internal linking, and that's a great point. So I have an analysis I do where I'll use a tool like Screaming Frog. I'll crawl the site and I put it into a little macro, and it tells me how they're linking, how folks are linking internally. And it's amazing how many of us have websites, and I've done it too, that we're not linking clearly. Where maybe we're using the word garage door, we're linking to 3 different pages, and the one that we want to rank, most of the links going here say this. Actually, scroll down just a little bit more, Michael, and I want to point out something. So the garage door springs page, what's the link? The link is read more.
Yeah.
Not garage door springs, or it may be both, or it may be some kind of JavaScript link. So we have to be very careful how we're linking internally to ourselves. And there's no way to know. Just looking at one page won't tell us. You got to crawl the site, got to run it, and then you have to do a complete analysis.
One question I have for you, Charles, is what is your take on the H1 here? It's just the brand name. It does have garage door repair because that's in their brand name. But do you think that getting a phrase like Dallas, like location in there would be helpful, or do you just like the idea of leading with a brand name?
No, I wouldn't put the location on this one because they're for all of Texas. They have a Dallas page. I wouldn't, if they were only operating in Dallas.
Fort Worth Metro. So that is kind of their main metro. I don't know what your thoughts are, or if we want to.
Yeah, personally, because it's just, and again, not knowing a lot about the client, you know, I'm kind of making assumptions based of their business strategy. It looks like they're trying to get lots of different areas in Texas. So
yeah.
And I don't know Texas that well. So I don't think I would be trying to go after just Dallas and the H1. You could put Texas. I'm not even sure I'd put Texas in there. I'd really want to do a lot more hard number crunching in there to know. I'd also want to see, like, I see it reliable and top-notch services. That's awesome. Is that being used in a tag? So here's something else folks will do, and I didn't touch on this at all. Sometimes folks will use H tags, heading tags, and I see this in enterprise all the time. They use heading tags for design purposes. So like reason to choose us is an H1, or not an H1, but an H2 and H3. The problem is you start putting these non-optimized words into your heading tags and you start de-optimizing your page from the search engine standpoint. So you want to be careful about that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. My last question I have for you, right, is that on our homepage, so we're showing all of our locations with all of our addresses. Here, I do wonder, like, because some of the brands that are ranking #1 are doing it. So these guys are doing it with their homepage. These guys look like they have a specific location page. I guess the question is, what is ranking? You know, let's do Dallas garage door repair. They weren't too far down. I checked earlier. Wellborn, action, overhead. Oh no, are we not there on page 1? What's going on here? Action again. Wow. So we're maybe they're not ranking as well as we'd hoped for this one. Precision, no. So that's probably, I guess that is something they should really be looking close at. I mean, they've got their, or is it if we just do this? Hang on. Garage door repair, Dallas. Now they are there. So #2 on the map pack, which is great. That is crazy how much that changes the result just with those.
Yeah.
I am noticing that like they're having a hard time outranking these like lower authority competitors. I'm wondering if like there isn't just one NAP on the homepage, it's the NAPs of all these locations. Do you wonder if that's creating some level of confusion?
It could be. I mean, I think they have a page for each one of those individuals. So Arlington, Allen, Garland, they have a page for each of those linked. over
So
a page? I
Dallas,
don't.
I'm not seeing a link. Carrollton has one, Irving has one, Fort Worth has one, Arlington, Allen, Garland, and then there's a second location in Dallas. So these two for Dallas don't. I wonder if this is this homepage the one that.
And I think that nap at the bottom was scrolling through different naps too.
So
You
yeah,
know,
check that out. Their homepage is their page for Dallas, but the
yeah.
nap, you know, I don't know if they maybe want to make that more focused for that.
Yeah, it's so this is very competitive. I think you have to we have to take a step back and have a good understanding what's the so here's this is a great example where SEO sometimes starts trying to drive business strategy.
Yeah,
And I like to do it too. Like, oh, let's do it this way because it's the best way. But sometimes you got to take a step back and say, what's our business strategy? What are we trying to achieve? And then let's say, all right, if that's what we're trying to achieve, are we doing that from an SEO point of view? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then we say, okay, what do we have to change and how much do we have to change it?
yeah,
And then unfortunately sometimes people then go like, we need to change our domain because all of our competitors have Dallas in their domain. Well, maybe I
oh,
wouldn't go that because now you start getting into migration, which is a whole different webinar in and of itself. I mean, my quick thought here is I might not have all the naps on the homepage. I might just have links to all the different locations. I
yeah.
might only have I would probably only have the Dallas nap and the Dallas embedded
That's what I'm thinking.
page on this individual page and just have the name address, have the nap and the embed on all the other pages. I think I might do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Interesting. All right, we got a couple more sites. If anyone else has any more questions they want to throw in, let us know. We got about 4 minutes left here. There was a question about schema. Charles, do you have any feedback on schema?
I love schema, but it's not an easy button. I know pages that rank that don't have any schema. I also have seen people rank pages with nothing but schema. So the whole gambit works. I like schema. I use schema. I use it as a way to make my page more relevant. But it's again that gets back into that whole guru number one told me use schema. I'm not saying schema is not good. I'm just saying it should be part of our diversity factors. There's a question here that talks about negative reviews. They're going to happen, unfortunately. So here is how I would handle negative reviews, or here's how I've always handled negative reviews. Number one, don't ever get in an argument with somebody on reviews, because as a business owner, you always end up, doesn't matter how in the right you are and how crazy that person is, you always look bad. So you just apologize and say, I'm sorry, we'd like to make it better for you, yada, yada. Just give a nice professional response. That's the best thing to do. If the person goes, there are guidelines. Google does have rules about what is and what is not allowed to be said. People start swearing, people start saying things, or if you suspect the person's never been to the location, somebody from Alaska leaves you a review and you're like, when did somebody Alaska come get a garage door done in Dallas? You can go to Google and say, hey, I think this is spam. And a lot of times Google say, yeah, you're right, it is spam. When they look at it, when they analyze it, they can often see whether it's whether it's real good reviews or not reviews. So there's that. I would also, again, try to get as many good reviews as possible. If you have no bad reviews, that's just as suspicious as having lots of bad reviews in my mind. If I see a listing and anything has nothing but positive reviews, I'm an SEO. I'm an online marketer. I know someone's manipulating that.
Very interesting. All right, we've got peachappliancerepair.com. They offer repair services for different appliances in the Atlanta, Georgia metro area. And they've really you can see here, we've got location pages for just about every different different suburb in that area. It looks like they've taken a pretty big hit starting around fall 2023, which I wonder if there's like a helpful content thing happening there, because that's right around the time of that update. And then another big hit again this past spring. So, I mean, we've gone down from what, 1,200 down to 105 over that time. So let's take a look at this one real quick to kind of close things out. Appliance repair, Woodstock, Georgia, top rated refrigerator repair.
So this is a local business.
Local
So
business.
here's my first guess, and this is a total guess, but we'll look at the site in a few seconds and find out. Sites that have been hit hard by the helpful content update, there's two things I find. Number one, they have too much non-specific content on their site. So if this site is about refrigeration repair, if this person does refrigeration repair, everything should be about refrigeration repair. And when you start here we go, I'm already seeing things like, washing machine problems and bad,
They do fix
you got to be
washing
careful
machines though.
putting lots of locations. So we have all these location pages.
Yeah.
You start de-optimizing your site, and Google starts not knowing what your site's about. So you have to be a little careful. Helpful content can get people that way. I've also seen helpful content. One of the things that the site that can hurt us for helpful content is the kinds of links you're getting. So we've kind of just talked about links as a general number, but Michael touched on it earlier. You want to make sure they're relevant links. Even if they're not linked links, even if they're no follow, you want it from a page talking about, in this case, refrigerator repair. So you want to be very careful. These are two things with helpful content that can get you, is that Google's looking for the topic of the site, and Google's pretty much admitted that they're now looking at site topic, and not, they used to only look at page topic, but they now are looking at site topic, which runs problems for new sites like the ones I have to deal with. E-commerce sites have lots of different kinds of stuff. So all of those things. You'll also hear people, I've heard a lot of people talk about like, oh, what's the customer experience and page experience on the page? That's how my question, my only challenge to that is, it's not that Google isn't looking for those kinds of metrics. It's user metrics they are looking at, but what is Google looking at? Are they looking at click-through rate? How would Google know that Michael is happy on this site versus not happy on this site? One of the ways that Google can know that is they go to your page, they go back to Google and do the exact same search again, or click on one of your competitors. So that is a signal to the search engine. They look at how many times people are searching for your brand name versus the non-brand. Who you are, what you do, and where you do it. That's another way that Google knows that you're a real business versus you've somehow figured out how to trick their algorithm.
I'm also seeing here the NAP on it isn't all together in the same place. I think that's probably a good opportunity for improvement here. We got contact info, got a phone number and email, then the address is down here. I mean, we'd probably want that all in the same area down here in the footer, right?
Yeah, I like putting the standard, can Google read all that? Probably. I have certain things I like to do, and some of them aren't necessarily, I'm the data driven guy, but there's still things I just do because I like to do them.
Yeah.
So I can't say that's always, I do some things just because I like to do things.
Yeah. There's those little things that like your signature on the SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of time here. It's 12:02. Thanks so much, everybody. 12:02 Mountain, 2:02 Eastern. Thank you all so much for jumping on and hanging out with Charles and I. I'll send a follow-up to everybody who attended just to see if there's any other questions we can help with, anything else that we can review with everybody. Hope this was helpful for you. Again, office hours, we want this to be a place where people can come, ask their questions, get practical feedback and information. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we look forward to chatting with y'all soon.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.